And I think as a family member, I mean, we'll come on to it a bit more later, but I was thinking earlier about what's the most useful thing that you can do as kind of a non-expert in a way. And there are some early headlines that we'll talk about, which is in terms of just having some basic understanding, you know, just doing a bit of basic reading or getting a bit of, you know, support around educating yourself. So sometimes that's a useful thing to do. So in addiction services, we talk a lot about recovery, you know, about recovery journeys, you know, what is recovery? For me, when I see somebody for the first time, if I'm assessing them, I'll usually ask my magic wand question. I just say, well, I haven't got a magic wand, but if I did, and life could be anything that you wanted it to be, what would you wish for? And people are usually fairly articulate in telling you what that might look like for them. And it might be, you know, to be more reliable in work. It might be to be more effective mum or dad. It might be lots of things. But for me, recovery is, well, all right, if you decided that that's what the Emerald City looks like, that's where you want to go. What we have to focus on is whatever you do needs to be taking you nearer to that and not far further away from it. And when somebody's become dependent on substances, you can get kind of acute withdrawal. You know, you can get the kind of problems that need to be dealt with detox. Stopping a substance, you know, nobody uses substances because there's nothing good about them. There's always something good about them. So after you stop, I always think that stopping, if you get the right help, is kind of the easier bit. Staying stopped is the really hard bit. And even when people leave rehab, and people, when they come to Brunel, are here for, you know, 16 weeks, sometimes longer, I will always say, when you go home, it's going to be really hard. It is really hard because you're learning to live, you're learning to live life almost on a different level. And coming into rehab, for example, if the main coping strategy you've got, if you're socially anxious or you know, your mood is down, is drinking, for example, it's learning to put a whole new load of tools in the toolkit. That's what rehab's about. So you kind of get acute withdrawal, you get that whole post-acute withdrawal syndrome. So you're still, you know, you're still having difficulty reestablishing like a sleeping routine. You might still be getting mood swings. And then you start to participate in things that are going to take you towards the Emerald City, as I call it, your recovery journey. And that might look like lots of things. That might look like structured therapy. It might look like joining a self-help group, like a smart recovery group or AA. It might look like going into rehab, but it's putting something in every day and holding that vision of where you want your life to be as the focus.
Well, the word that cropped up was identity when you were talking through all of that. And, you know, the individuals are going through a change of identity, really, to, you know, successfully go through recovery, or not go through, but, you know, to remain sober. It's not, like you say, it's not just stopping one thing, it's changing one's identity in lots of different areas.
It is, because going back to people use substances to change how they feel, or sometimes to avoid how they feel, or to, you know, push memories away. If you don't learn different techniques, then all you will do is you will switch the substance. So, I mean, heroin use isn't as prevalent now in Wales as it used to be. It used to be the main thing that I saw working in services. But about 40% of people, the statistic was, who had a problem with heroin would just go on to have a problem with alcohol. So it's kind of not the substance, it's what sits underneath it and what help you can get to develop alternative strategies or deal with some of the challenges in a healthier, more effective way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I was going to ask as well, it's going back a few minutes, but you were talking about like a tipping point for a person where things, well, reach that tipping point.
Yeah.
I guess, is that just individual by individual? It's going to be different, or is there a rule of thumb, or is there signs to spot where, you know, that person is moving quite close to this tipping point?
I think what you will see is generally people start to their behavior starts to change first in ways that might not seem that significant. So if you think about somebody who, let's just say their usual routine is, you know, they go to work in the morning, they're always on time, they take the kids swimming on a Thursday night, you know, they go out as a family on a Sunday, go out and have Sunday lunch. Usually as a substance starts to become more dominant in somebody's life, you'll often see them start to close down parts of their life. Like, for example, somebody might start becoming late for work, or they might not take the kids swimming on a Thursday because that's a late night, and that actually they want to start drinking earlier in the evening. It's almost like, it's like a row of dominoes. You start to see dominoes start to go down, because the whole thing around dependence is that you spend more and more time seeking the drug and its effect, and also more and more time recovering from the downside of that. So yeah, you start to see people close areas of their life down. That usually starts to happen before you start to see you know, say physical withdrawal symptoms. For example, somebody getting up in the morning. I mean, if I'm assessing somebody with an alcohol problem, one of the things that we do is we will talk about their day. So I say, okay, you know, what time do you wake up in the morning? Well, I wake up at 6 o'clock. How are you in the morning when you wake up? How are you feeling? Are you feeling okay? Are you feeling anxious? Oh no, God, I'm feeling really anxious. When you get up, could you pick up a full cup of tea, or would you be so shaky you would spill it? You know, you start to know the signs to look for and the questions to ask. So yeah, it's different for different people, because you'll talk to people, young people, for example. You might talk to young people. I mean, cocaine is a huge problem now. I'd say it's almost as common as when I was in school back in the day. You know, you'd have a can of cider around the back of the youth club on a Friday night with mates. It's just becoming so easily available. And you might get some people who will try cocaine and just say, I hated it. It made me feel really anxious. I'm never ever going to touch that again. You'll talk to other people who might use it recreationally from time to time, but take it or leave it. You can talk to other people who will say, I tried it a couple of times and like, bang, that was it. I was in.
Yeah.
So it's very different, and there are no golden rules. There are no golden rules. There are no golden headlines. It's different from person to person.
Yeah. Okay. But kind of spotting or keeping an eye on routine changes is, you know, is life fitting around alcohol? Is alcohol the primary thing that everything else is fitting around? It's trying to be watchful and mindful of that, which I suppose would also be difficult, because I imagine a lot of people, you know, there's stigma attached to an addiction, so people will mask or appear quite well adjusted. You know, it might be very difficult to spot these changes in routine because people are doing everything within their power to not allow people to spot, if you see what I mean.
I mean, one of the questions people often ask when they come into clinic is something like, oh, you know, am I an alcoholic? Do you think I'm an alcoholic? Or do you think I'm an addict? And I always say, look, if you've got a substance that's causing you challenges in your life that you're really not comfortable with, and is causing things in your life that you wouldn't choose to have in it, there's a problem. I'm not a big one for labels in terms of, you know, in terms of anything really. It's just like, how is it for you, you know? And one of the reasons that I kind of put a picture of a chicken and egg up is that the next thing that we're going to talk about is just that. It's kind of like, well, you know, if you've got like mental health challenges as well, and then you've got addiction issues. Well, which came first, and how do they kind of hang together?
Yeah, interesting.
So I think for kind of the first bit, really, we talked a little bit about detox. Detox is the medically managed withdrawal of a substance that you've become usually physically dependent on. And the biggies are kind of things like heroin. You know, people mostly need substitute prescribing to wean them off the effects of that and the unpleasant withdrawals. Alcohol. So that's the sort of detox bit. And then the rehab bit is the learning a different toolkit. Because people will often ring Brunel and just say, I need rehab. And you say, well, do you need a detox? I don't know, what's the difference? That's the difference.